Soy Carmen y soy de Alicante, España.
My name is Joseph Glore, and I live in Hollywood, California.
My name is Jason Murphy. I'm a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army.
Over 70% of people in Spain are Catholic. There aren't young adults, people my age, going to church. You take your first communion because that's what everybody does, and you're supposed to do, even though you don't necessarily go to Mass even on Sundays. So that's the sort of experience that I had growing up. The faith was just there, and you had to do it, and it didn't really matter if it made sense or not, and there's no reason behind it, which I couldn't do because I felt like I needed to understand a little bit more of, what it was all about, and I didn't.
I believed in fitness. Bodybuilding I saw as an avenue towards reinventing myself and becoming somebody. And ultimately, becoming the guy on the cover of the fitness magazine. Because I pictured him as being probably the person that was the least like me in all the best ways. And I thought, he's living the dream. I mean, that's what it's all about. I believe that if I trained hard enough and I ate perfect and I made the sacrifices, then, my dream would come true.
In combat, you really get to see the ugly side of the human race. If that's all you see day after day and you don't have something else to help, you are going to become depressed and lose your ability to continue your journey.
So I actually started my confirmation classes, and I actually didn't finish because I was going to study here to the US for a year abroad. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this means that I don't have to be confirmed. This means that I don't have to take these stupid classes anymore. My faith was non-existent. So I just left the church.
I did have an initial passion from even before bodybuilding in literature. And so I studied English language arts in college. I got my master's and I'm certified to teach, but I didn't really want anything to do with that. I wanted to be a bodybuilder. So right after I graduated with my master's, I was flown out by Gold's Gym International to live in a house in the desert in Palm Springs area. And we just partied every single day. And I just did photo shoots from fitness magazines every week and was on a cover straight away. I mean, it was my greatest dream come true. The more I got into bodybuilding, the less I cared about anything else. I just got tired of seeing my own images all the time, looking in the mirror all the time. And I remember after like an 8-hour photo shoot, just feeling like the sense of like utter lack of accomplishment. I lost a lot of who I was. The number one emphasis in my whole life was this kind of grand vanity.
In my second deployment, we went to Al Asad Air Base in Iraq. With the stress of combat, something you desperately like to have is your faith. And at that time, there just weren't enough priests in the country. There would be weeks that we'd go without having a priest. And so the difference became we had to form a group ourselves to experience our faith and to share our faith and commune in our faith. And it really wasn't enough. You want to be fed more.
I decided to stay for another year and finish high school in the States. My religion teacher for my final year. He was really Catholic, but he actually understood what that meant and kind of the foundations of Catholicism. We would watch Bishop Barron Catholicism series every once in a while, and he would make us do worksheets on just to think about what Bishop Barron had said.
After having pursued all these different routes of self-aggrandizement, I said, I'm going to start pouring myself out, and then I'll feel fulfilled, if I start living for other people. And here comes a TV show where they want a trainer who's been seriously involved in fitness, but who can help high school kids who've been heavy their whole lives believe in themselves and finally lose weight before they go off to college. So I took this job on MTV to be the head trainer for their hit TV show.
I want you to think about how badly she wants this for you. You will never get this day back again, buddy. This is a once.
It brought me a whole new lifestyle. I became a school teacher. This fellow colleague of mine, another teacher, this girl who I thought was pretty, brought me to her church. It was an evangelical, non-denominational church. I vibed with the folks there because they were all young and cool, and the pastor had tattoos, so I felt like this is a place that I could go.
Psalm 23 only matters if God is your shepherd. If he's not your shepherd tonight, we're going to change that in about 20 minutes.
The Christian way is the way. For sure, I was confident in that, but now I have to believe that a dude was in a whale and the earth was created in 7 days. And best case scenario, I wouldn't get an answer because it's non-denominational, so no one really has a hardline doctrine, and it's whatever you perceive to be the truth of the scriptures is true.
It was somebody in passing that really said, there's this website where this priest does a homily every week, and you can download and then you guys can listen to it. We'd take the iPod out and then we'd sit around and listen to Bishop Barron's homily for the week.
I would actually think about them in a philosophical way, in a way that I had never thought about them. Like, is this true? What is truth? And he had a very strong presence on camera and, in the classroom too, because now he was our teacher.
Adam's a king. A good king, yes, before the fall, and then Adam becomes a bad king who allows bad influence to come into the garden, doesn't govern the garden properly, and therefore cannot fulfill his kingly responsibility, which is what?
My dad sent me this video, and it was Bishop Barron talking about Jesus versus religion, and I watched it and I was like, oh, okay, and then it played the next video. I watched every single one of those videos, and then I found out about the podcast sermons. There had never been a sermon before that rocked my world until I had heard him preach, and the one on humility, Queen of Virtues. The thing that struck me about Bishop Barron was that he had the smartest take on all of these things, but at the same time, he was like a guy I could have a beer with, like a buddy.
He became that calming voice for us once a week. It paid dividends in manners that lasted the entire week, kind of recharged the Energizer Bunny in each of us internally to go out with more positivity, with a view of hope.
That's the way it goes with all the saints, I think. They trust. They make a simple act of trust. They do what the Lord asks them, and then he'll give it the growth.
You could tell that he had a mind and that he used it. He was so convinced about what he was saying, and he believed it, he lived it, and he actually had reasons why, what he believed was true. And that just kind of struck me because I had never really thought about truth.
When I looked at the amount of time I was spending with him and where I brought him, which was everywhere around the world, so Afghanistan, Iraq, he's always with me. I call him my longest pastor.
And that's sort of how I started to rethink the way that I had been thinking about Catholicism. I had questions, and I was actively seeking answers. I wanted to know what the meaning of life was. I wanted to know why I was here, and if that mattered at all.
It becomes idolatry if I start worshiping the physical. I start worshiping the image. No, you don't worship it. You're drawn through it to the transcendent reality which it signifies.
When you have an opportunity to listen to Bishop Barron, he doesn't dumb things down. He's not going to tell you something to make you feel good about it. He's going to tell you things that are important to hear.
As I started to get more into the Word on Fire ministry, I started to see that whenever I had a question, I would turn to Word on Fire. He has tons of videos about everything. His personality was a big help in delivering all of that content. He was engaging.
When you got some downtime and you just kind of want to hear that shepherd's voice, that was him. There's a connection to the culture, and I think that's the difference that Word on Fire brings for me.
I saw the announcement on my Facebook page that Bishop Barron, priest of Chicago, is now going to become the bishop, auxiliary bishop of Los Angeles. And the press conference started, and I got down there, I think, in like 20 minutes. So I was able to shake his hand and at least and I got emotional. I mean, at least just and put an impression upon him that he changed my life, the Holy Spirit used him.
As I started to read his homilies, listen to his homilies, watch his videos, and read his books, there was something in me that was clicking with what I was seeing. It started to change my life.
Things begin very small and then they grow into something impressive. So start with your own hands, rebuild that little church.
And then they were looking for a new assistant content director, and they needed somebody who really knew Word on Fire content. And I said, I have half of it memorized. It was a perfect match. And now, after working there for 2 years, I'm the producer for Word on Fire.
When he was filming David, the king, and I got invited, and I got to meet him face to face. I'll admit, it's hard as a military guy, I cried because it was so special to me to actually shake his hand and to actually see him in a physical body and not on a screen.
Other people deserve and need this. The truth is also universal. I mean, everybody seeks it. And this is actually a very good resource to give to them. That's not gonna be pushy, it's not gonna be just trying to make you believe something just because. It's just a conversation starter.
Bien, hemos alcanzado una mayor claridad en cuanto a lo que queremos.
Having Bishop Barron's videos in Spanish, and in other languages for that matter, is so important. Because not everybody who is, reaching out and trying to find something speaks English.
Bishop Barron would be successful wherever he's at, but the fact that we can connect him through a medium that allows him to be spread throughout the world and to be carried throughout the world is really exceptional. And for me, that was what really brought him into my life as far as in the deployments, where he was able to go wherever I needed to go and be where I had to be. He is helping reach people that never would be able to hear the word or hear about the Catholic faith.
This is the answer to all of my questions. This is what my heart and my mind was looking for. He has helped me throughout my journey in Catholicism. Everybody seeks the same basic thing, and I think that's what Bishop Barron offers.
Word on Fire is actually the avenue by which God brought me through the 3 paths of holiness that Bishop Barron teaches about, which are finding the center, knowing that you're a sinner, and realizing that your life is not about you. In Hollywood, I was constantly aspiring to do bigger and wilder and crazier things. What's interesting is that Bishop Barron's spirituality and what the things I've learned from Word on Fire have taught me the little way. And so here, I go from having these big Hollywood dreams to now the greatest desire of my heart is to find the greatest path of love in every situation that I'm in. Bishop Barron and Word on Fire have made my life so much more ordinary and thereby so much more extraordinary. Bishop Barron's lit a fire in my heart and inspired me to want to do that for the rest of the world.